Pokémon Journeys is even more polarizing than Sun and Moon. But why exactly is it so divisive? Quite simply, it is because the classic Pokémon anime formula has been scrapped in favor of something very different. And so it is time to talk about the 5 factors that changed everything we knew about Ash Ketchum and his adventures. Hey everyone, it's Charles. How are you today? Reinventing a classic formula is risky business that can either lead to unprecedented success or a bag full of spanks. For example, on one hand, Breath of the Wild upended the tea table by reinventing the beloved Zelda formula solidified in A Link to the Past into an open-world sandbox adventure, and the results were truly incredible. Likewise, IBM was once a computer manufacturing juggernaut that got hammered into oblivion in the early 1990s by fierce competition, and rose again by ditching hardware and remaking their brand around IT consulting, research, and software. On the other hand, Coca-Cola once tried to reinvent their classic formula, and, well, the bards still sing of that calamity to this day. But what about Pokémon Journeys? Is it Breath of the Wild or is it New Coke? We will be explaining the pros and cons of the 5 factors that broke the classic Pokémon anime formula in Pokémon Journeys, but I will leave it to you to decide if the show is a gem or a stinky stinker because, to quote William Shakespeare, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And as always, it's going to be a fun time, so kindly request Yermachoke to cross-chop that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's bust this anime open to see what they've been cooking up. If you grew up with the original Pokemon anime, or Diamond and Pearl, or XY, you have probably been accustomed to the episodes in the anime flowing in a natural order as Ash travels from one area to the next, often spending a few episodes in a single location to complete an objective connected to the overarching plots, or smaller but still epic multi-episode story arcs, like the Karina arc, the Nimbasa Club Battle arc, the Ash Greninja training arc, the Wallace Cup arc, etc. By comparison, Pokémon Journeys tends to tell compact, self-contained stories that reach their conclusions within a single episode, and the show will move on to something entirely unrelated in the next episode. There have been a few mini story arcs, but outside of the 4-episode Darkest Day arc, the plot threads connecting them have felt like more of an afterthought than anything else, or the relevant episodes have been spread apart with no sensible bridges in the middle, leaving even these arcs feeling pretty disjointed. On one hand, the show is more accessible at any entry point than ever before, with the narrator even naming the main characters and their objectives at the beginning of every episode. And this is great if you just want to pick up the show and have some fun with it, and the episodes themselves are almost always a good time, or at least have some kind of worthwhile message attached to them. On the other hand, meaningful, long-term storytelling has been flushed down the drain, and I wonder what kind of impact this might have on week-to-week viewership and audience retention over time, even among young audiences. Just imagine if Goku beat Frieza in 1 episode instead of 20 episodes, and in the next episode he was back on Earth planting tomatoes with Piccolo, and in the next episode the androids appeared and were wiped out by the end of that episode, and in the next Goku became a dog groomer. It would be fun, but probably not as gripping. The next factor, which is very much connected to the first, is the round-the-world adventure setup. Every preceding season has focused squarely on one region aside from occasional visits back to Kanto or other regions for the odd special event. And as a result, every single region has been fleshed out over dozens upon dozens of connected episodes as Ash and the crew gradually traverse them to complete their goals. And importantly, in terms of the impact on storytelling, achievements, at least up until the end of XY, were always linked to a sense of physical progress through the world. By comparison, Pokémon Journeys is set across all 8 of the current Pokémon regions, with Ash and Go usually spending no more than 1 episode in a given region before traveling elsewhere to complete unrelated objectives. This is a huge formula break, and it comes with its pros and cons. On the bright side, viewers new and old get a taste of all of the places that Ash has visited to date. He meets up with nostalgia-inducing characters from the games who haven't had a chance to shine in the anime before, and we've also had the pleasure of seeing many longtime fan favorites like Karina or the Alola crew, with Gary Oak, Iris, and others on the way. On the less rosy side, spending a single episode in a region before moving on means that there just isn't as much time to tell interesting stories in these regions, to dig deeply into the lore that makes these places so exciting, or to develop any of the characters there to the point where they actually become interesting. Similarly, since the sense of achievement in the show is no longer linked to Ash's physical progress through the world, to draw a comparison, it feels more like we are choosing levels from the level select screen in Super Mario Bros. 3 for quick, contained bursts of fun than traversing the landscape in Breath of the Wild, wherein we feel a sense of physical progress, accomplishment, and immersion. Next up, we have Go and the dual protagonist structure. Essentially, whereas every previous series has been centered on Ash's quest to be the very best, and the other party members were basically tag-alongs, interesting tag-alongs, but tag-alongs nevertheless. In Pokemon Journeys, Go has been placed on equal footing with Ash, and this gives the series an entirely different feel. On the positive side, Go brings a very much needed breath of fresh air to the series. The bro dynamic is a lot of fun, and Go's goal to catch them all is very different from Ash's quest to be the best, bringing the other of Pokemon's two major mechanics to the forefront. However, this dual protagonist structure also results in an attention split, which is not necessarily a good thing. To put this in perspective, episodes focused squarely on Ash comprised as much as 36% of episodes in previous series, but in Journeys, his focus episodes have made up only 18% of the episodes released thus far. Similarly, Go's focus episodes have only made up 22% of the 60 episode total. Using focus episodes as a rough proxy for character development, this indicates that not just Ash, but also Go have been deprived of much of the dedicated character development that Ash has received as the lead character in past seasons. And this is probably why many fans feel like the writers are neglecting Ash, and why it feels as if Go's development from a newbie to a confident catch expert feels a little bit rushed. But what do you think? The fourth formula-breaking factor is the way that Ash and Go's goals are structured. In previous seasons of the anime, Ash's progress towards his major goals has always been tracked by a handful of meaningful milestones, whether that be classic gym challenges or the island trials in Alola. Either way, it was very easy to gauge how close he was to completing his major objectives. But this time around, goal progression is not tied to easily understandable milestones. Instead, progression is measured by numbers that on a superficial level appear to very closely track progress, but in reality, actually obscure it. For instance, Ash's overarching goal is to defeat Leon to become the new World Coronation Series monarch. And to get a shot at toppling Leon, he needs to get into the year-end tournament by making the cut as one of the top 8 trainers in the world. He works towards this goal by winning battles against the thousands of other trainers participating in the tournament to increase his ranking, and by trying not to lose battles, since by doing so his ranking will decrease. However, under this system, his ranking fluctuates up and down in seemingly random increments, and we have absolutely no idea how many battles he still has to win to make it into the top 8. It's a cool system that makes sense, but it is somewhat ineffective as a narrative device. Similarly, Go's goal is to catch every Pokemon, including Mew. But in practical terms, there is no way that Go is actually going to catch all of the Pokemon, or even close to all of the Pokemon within the scope of the anime, meaning that he is working towards an unachievable goal measured by virtually endless notches on a bar, and we will not see him succeed or fail with his goal. Unlike with Ash, who has clear win-lose conditions. Either he topples Leon and becomes the new monarch, or he craps his pants and goes home. Go's goal is a goal that is not really a goal. especially considering that the number of Pokemon out there is continually increasing. And as a result, Go simply does not have a clear, reasonable goal within the Pokemon Journeys series. These numbers-oriented goals present the illusion of trackable progress, but really they have made progress more difficult to grasp than ever before, since neither Ash's World Coronation Series ranking or Go's Pokedex stack are grounded to any meaningful narrative structure or milestones, and both measurements fluctuate all the time with off-screen battles and catches. These systems are interesting and they do make sense, but they do nothing to add form to the story in the way that the classic gym badges or even the princess keys did. On the bright side, that does not stop us from enjoying the battles, the catches, and the travels as they come. We are always on our toes, wondering which classic opponents Ash will take on next and which Pokemon Go will snag. So there's that. What is your take on goal measurement in Pokemon Journeys? The last formula-breaking factor is game style catch mania. On one hand, hardcore Pokemon collecting, which is a big part of the video games and the TCG, finally has a place in the anime, and that is pretty cool. It is fun to see Go expand his collection, to watch his Pokemon interact with one another back at the Cerise Research Institute, and to wonder what fan-favorite Pokemon he will take a crack at with each new episode. But at the same time, it also becomes apparent why the writers have made catches such a rarity over the years. In the games, catches are essentially checklist boxes that we check off to show our mastery over the game world and to open up options for team composition, but the anime is a different medium with different needs. And thus, in the pre-Journeys Pokemon anime, the focus was always on story-friendly competitions with characters serving almost exclusively as narrative devices that moved the plot forward in one way or another, and just about every new Pokemon functioned as a member of the cast with a story to tell. It simply made sense to keep the catches scarce, given the limitations of a 20-minute show looking to tell a halfway decent story. And as expected, introducing Catch Mania into Pokemon Journeys via Go has established something which we will call the Go quota, referring to the phenomenon wherein the writers are required to have Go constantly catch Pokemon to push him towards his goal. This is a fun mechanic on its own, but a double-edged sword in that it has pulled screen time away from plot development and eroded the narrative significance of catches in the anime. I am happy to see collecting play a bigger role in the anime, but I personally think that it might have been a more compelling setup if Go had a list of special Pokemon he needed to catch for some personal reason or another instead of simply trying to catch every Pokemon willy-nilly. The catches would feel so much more meaningful, and we would be able to focus on the main story beats of the episodes without these 2-minute interruptions to catch Bellsprouts, which has become a necessity in order to comply with the Go quota. Well, those are 5 factors with which Pokemon Journeys broke the classic anime formula to deliver a brand new experience to viewers. Self-contained episodes, around-the-world adventure, Go and the dual protagonist structure, goals as numbers, and game-style catch mania. Although I'm sure some of my bias has dripped into the discussion, I have tried to at least somewhat objectively weigh the pros and cons, because, as you know, not everything is simply black and white. But how about you? What are your thoughts on Pokemon Journeys breaking the classic formula? Are you a fan of the changes, or did you prefer the anime's traditional structure? And will the next anime follow the Pokemon Journeys formula, return to the old formula, or try something new entirely? I'm curious what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, let's chat.